Are you a first-time home buyer? If you're thinking about buying your first home, you've probably had your fair share of advice from family and friends. Add to that the constant stream of TV shows, news segments, and social media posts that oversimplify the home buying process just for entertainment purposes. It's easy to feel overwhelmed and confused. But don't worry, we're here to set the record straight and dispel the top 10 myths that trip up first-time home buyers. So sit back, relax, and we're going to get you one step closer to getting your first home. My auntie told me that I need a 20% down payment. Is that truth or myth? That's myth number one. Plenty of buyers are purchasing homes for much less than 20% of the total cost of property. Today, you can buy a home for as little as 3 to 5% down. There are multiple programs out there that will allow you to have a much lower down payment, and a lender or a mortgage broker can talk you through the options so you can make the best choice for your circumstances. Since you're putting less money down, you're a higher risk to your lender than those who put down a full 20%. And because of this, more than likely, you'll have to pay mortgage insurance as a part of your monthly payment. Now, Sam told me that real estate agents are very expensive. Truth or myth? That's myth number two. Your agent is going to be with you every step of the way throughout the entire home buying journey. He or she is going to spend countless hours working on your behalf. Now, all that sounds like having an agent is really expensive, right? Well, not for you. Buyers usually don't pay the agent's commission. Your agent's fee is usually paid for at the closing by the seller of the home you're buying. The seller knows to factor this cost into the total property's purchase price. The earlier you bring in an agent to help with the purchasing process, the better. Even if you're just starting out and you're just casually looking at homes on Zillow, a real estate professional can be a huge help. They can create a search in the multiple listing service, or MLS, so you get notifications for every house that meets your criteria as soon as it hits the market. The MLS is typically more up to date than the popular home searches like Trulia or Zillow. Setting up a search a few months before you're considering buying is a great idea because it allows you to get a feel for what's out there in your town in your budget. Reviewing the MLS and speaking with an agent as soon as possible can help you set real expectations for when you actually start the home buying process. We've all watched those HGTV shows that encourage people to go after fixer-uppers because they're more affordable, and eventually the owner will be able to renovate the home so it has everything on their wish list. But that's not always the case. What comes to my mind are the movies The Money Pit and Baby Boomer. Sometimes homes that need a lot of repairs require a lot of money. Big renovations like add-ons, total kitchen remodels, pools look a lot quicker and easier on TV. If you're really interested in a fixer-upper, ask your agent to show you a mix of older and newer homes. If you fall in love with an older home that needs a lot of work, you'll be able to get some quotes from contractors before you buy, find out all of the renovations, the cost of the renovations, and know if they will fit within your budget. So how many of you have heard that the only upfront cost you'll incur is the down payment? That's a myth. Your down payment is big, but that is not going to be your only cost during the home purchasing process. At closing, you'll pay your down payment, but you'll also bring closing costs to the table. Closing costs typically are anywhere from 2 to 4% of the total purchase price of the home. This amount includes the cost of homeowners insurance, title fees, and more. You'll also need to pay for an inspection before closing, which typically costs a few $100s. That price will be higher or lower depending upon the size of your house. Your lender is also going to require an appraisal. An appraiser will come out and inspect the home to determine its worth. Depending upon the lender, you'll have to pay this fee once the appraisal is conducted, or it could be rolled into the closing cost. Everybody says you need a high credit score to buy a house. That's also a myth. You do not need perfect credit to buy a house. There are loans out there that people with lower credit scores can qualify for. These are good options for people who have had credit issues in the past, but some of them come with additional fees that you'll need to pay. Speak to a few local lenders and mortgage brokers to talk about which option might be best for you. Please don't let the fear of someone finding out that you have had less than stellar credit stop you from this first important step in the home buying process. You can't qualify for a mortgage loan if you're still paying off student loans. I'm happy to report that's a myth. While some buyers feel more comfortable paying off their existing debt before leaping into the home buying process, it is not a requirement. When you're applying for a mortgage, the lender takes a close look at your debt to income ratio. If you want to calculate this on your own, add up all of your monthly debt payments and divide that by your monthly income. When your lender does this, they're trying to figure out if you'll be able to afford your monthly mortgage payments along with your existing payments. If your income is high enough to allow you to make all of these payments, having a student loan will most likely not stop you from getting a mortgage. You should base your budget on what your lender approves you for. Myth. How much house you qualify for and what you can actually afford are two completely different numbers. When you pre-qualify for a mortgage, your lender will look at your income, debts, assets, credit score, and financial history to determine how much money you might qualify for. For some people, this amount might be much higher than you thought because lenders tend to approve for the highest amount they think you can afford. But that doesn't mean that's how much you should borrow. Instead, determine how much house you can afford. An online calculator will be a great help to determine your actual number. I'm going to go ahead and put a link to one in the details. We recommend thinking about what you want your monthly payment to be as your starting point. And remember to add your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. You should also think about ownership expenses that aren't part of your monthly payments, like HOA dues and maintenance. It's all about the location. That's also a myth. You've heard the phrase, location, location, location. That's basically the real estate industry's model. Yes, it's important to consider location when you're considering school districts or commute times. But what's just as important is how the house is going to function for you and your family's lifestyle. This example is very obvious. If a family of 5 is choosing between a 1-bedroom in the busy city or a 4-bedroom house in the suburbs, the latter is probably best. By buying in a less sought out neighborhood, your property taxes most likely will be low. You might still want to choose an area with great resale potential. And this is something that you can speak to your agent about. If you look hard enough, you'll find a home that checks every box on your wish list. Myth. Yes, the perfect house that meets every item on your wish list is out there, just at double or triple your budget. You've seen that famous house hunting show, and while we have our suspicions about how real it is, the one thing they get right is that almost every buyer must compromise on something. A long wish list may be a great starting point for figuring out what you want and what you don't want. But we recommend narrowing that wish list down to the top 5 things that are most important to you in order of priority. We also recommend noting on this wish list the things that are an absolute deal breaker, like having a yard for the kids and the dog, or what you can do without, those heated bathroom floors. A good real estate agent will be able to look at your list and find properties that might work for you. By coming to that first meeting with realistic expectations about home buying, rather than a bunch of myths heard here or there, you'll start the process off on the right foot and you'll be in your home in no time.